Welcome, everyone, to the Wednesday edition of Off the Cuff. Very exciting day today. One of my favorite all-time topics, probably the most controversial, but I have two of my buds with me that you've seen on other shows, but they really have a grasp of this, and I'm very excited to have them on. Before we do that, couple of announcements. Welcome to my ex people. Just starting to get a little bit of buzz over there, people starting to watch. So welcome to those that are on x.com. I'm live streaming over there as well. We will be adding a lot more things, hopefully going into syndication with a couple of the shows. So things are in the works. Anyway, first of all, National Gathering, July 4th and 5th. I'm not going to go into this. Go read about it. Go to thegatheringmovement.org. At the top, you'll see National Gathering tickets. Click that. It'll bring you to a poster. You'll get all the information. You want tickets, you click the poster. So please go there, do that. And also, if you're around tonight, Louis Herms, his Rumble channel is Screw Big Gov. He invited me on. We'll be on 7 p.m. Eastern. It's a Q&A night. So you guys can have some fun asking questions. So come on over there. Meet me over there. It's going to be fun. All right. Last but not least, there is how do we do everything we do? How do we do the gathering? How do we have free tickets? How do we feed homeless? We take a lot of what we do and we give to homeless people, communities and foundations that are near and dear to our heart. We know the people. We just don't give. We know them. We know what they do with the money. So we do a lot. We don't talk about it all the time, but how do we do it? We got two ways. One of the ways I'm just going to go over today is with joyandcountry.com. Jenna put that up when we did the first gathering on October 16th, 2021. This is our 13th now. And so this is the thing. If you are interested in helping us and you love what we wear, not this particularly, this is mine. This is from Joy and Country, but it's way back. This is incredible for Easter. It's incredible, amazing gift. Easter, if you give things on Easter, you put in baskets, whatever you do. Look at this. It's a toggle, and it is called He is Risen Open Tomb. It has He is Risen here. It's got a cross, and then it's got a real Austrian crystal that represents the open tomb. This is stainless steel. There's also matching earrings. You got to go on in the description below. You can go see these. These also is the crystal that says He is Risen. Right there. These are really cute. I mean, they're really cute. You got to go see them. Again, in the description, or go to joyandcountry.com. Delora's Closet. Last but not least, a brand new item. Where do you see this? Okay. Joe Dingle. Drum roll. Take a look. This is a new tote bag. Okay. Look at how gorgeous that is. And the back, Psalm 91, covered under his feathers. This is so beautiful. Now, it also comes in 16 by 16. So it'd be like this big. So it's smaller. It depends, up to you. Printed on the front, printed on the back, tons of room on the inside. So I'm going to show you that. Now, she said all of these items are linked in the description below. You can also find them in Delora's Closet on joyandcountry.com. And there's all kinds of new boutique items. I saw some of the stuff she's putting up. Oh my goodness. Spring items, patriotic, inspirational tumblers, all kinds of things. Go to the new tab on the website to check it out. And always free shipping. Now, for those of you that are for the first time coming on here, maybe through X, I don't know. If you go to joyandcountry.com and you use the code WELCOME10, and it's the first time you're buying, you will get 10% off of everything. So without further ado, let me get these guys on. We are going to do stuff like this probably once a month with them. You know, it actually takes courage. There's a lot of people don't agree, and that's okay. It's okay if you don't agree. But let me get them on. Okay, my buddy. Love this man's heart. He's such a sweetheart. Very dear friend for many years now. Joe Dingle, all the way. How you doing, Joe? Yes,
I'm
yes.
good. I had to get that drum roll in there.
I saw you, bro. I saw you. And then getting a lot of comments and emails about you. You don't realize this, Johnny, but they love your perspective. People love your perspective. So please welcome, become a very dear friend. I love Johnny Patriot. Hey, man. How you
How's it
doing?
going? Happy afternoon.
Okay.
Joe's sitting in the hollow earth in the sun. Look at that.
Ah.
Hey, I did this background because this is how Antarctica used to look like.
Amen. Amen. Okay. So guys, if you would, this is what we're going to do when people are talking. I don't mind if you cut in, please do. This is going to be a conversation, but when someone is saying, if you could keep your mics off, because it's, I don't know what, we deal with all kinds of stuff here on Rumble. You'd think I wouldn't, but I do, unfortunately. Okay, so let me just lay a little foundation for 2 minutes here. First of all, I want to say a disclaimer, and this includes me, Johnny, and Joe. We're not saying we can absolutely prove some of what is going to be said. Some you can, but some we cannot. But this is what we've done. We've all dug deeply into this topic. We've all felt it's very important. Things will be presented. Opinions will be said. It's based on, for me, decades of investigation, some speculation. And so I just want people to know, if you disagree, that's okay. We have to stop thinking that in order to get along, we have to agree on every single thing. We don't. It's healthy I may not agree with Johnny. I may not agree with Joe. They may not agree with me. It doesn't mean that's it, you're off. We have to be open to things like this. These are what you're going to hear is based on, in my case, knowledge that I've gained over the last 30, 35 years. So that said, I'm going to play just a couple quick videos that are going to lay the groundwork for you. The first video, actually, hold on a second. The first video is one I show every single time I broach this subject. It's about 56 seconds long. Very important reason I went down this rabbit hole. Watch this.
I must say that Admiral Byrd, our guest tonight, is not only our greatest living explorer, but he's been an inspiration to countless Americans. Admiral Byrd, you've been to both the North Pole and the South Pole. Is there any unexplored land left?
Okay, here we go again. Can you imagine?
Unexplored land left?
I don't know what's happening. Let me just stop there and let me tell you what he says. You can go look it up yourself. I'm not sure if it's still up. It may be down. But Admiral Byrd says there is land on the side of up on a side of Antarctica. Now, I'm going to get into that later. The size of the United States that no one has ever been to. That is the thing that made me investigate all of what I do. Now, I'm going to give you one more of these, okay? This is Dr. Carol Rosen. She worked for Fairchild Industries. It's an aerospace company. She worked very closely with Werner von Braun for many years. I pray this does not stop. Watch.
Brown was dying of cancer, he asked me to be his spokesperson, to appear on occasions when he was too ill to speak. And what he asked me to do was to educate decision makers and the public about why we shouldn't be putting weapons in space. What was most interesting to me was a repetitive sentence that he said to me over and over again during the approximately 4 years that I had the opportunity of working with him. The strategy that Wernher von Braun taught me was that first the Russians are going to be considered to be the enemy. In fact, when I met him in '74, they were the enemy. Then terrorists would be identified, and that was soon to follow. Then we were going to identify third world country crazies. We now call them nations of concern. And the funniest one of all was against what he called aliens, extraterrestrials. That would be the final card. And over and over and over during the 4 years that I knew him and was giving his speeches for him, he would bring up that last card. And remember, Carol, the last card is the alien card. We're going to have to build space-based weapons against aliens. And all of it, he said, is a lie.
Okay. Now, that woman worked with Wernher von Braun. Okay. And I'm gonna go. I don't know which one of you want to go next. I don't really care. But that led me to a group of books, and I'm not going to go into it because I know we're going to hit it probably later. But from Claudio Nocelli, who speaks of lands and speaks of aliens, but when we hear aliens, we think of outer space. When we're talking about aliens today, we're talking about aliens that are not like illegal aliens that come to this country and are not legal. Anyone that is not from this country, this world, in their own world, are aliens. UFOs are not necessarily flying saucers from outer space. We have been programmed to believe that. So today is about Antarctica and beyond. Byrd said that planets spoken of are not in space. He called outer space a completely different place. So why would we even go down this road? It's a little bizarre. No one can answer where he talks about the land that's on the map. He said on the other side of Antarctica. I'm going to hit that again. For example, and then I'm going to turn it over to the guys. How can Antarctica have a side? If I was to say where Hawaii was, I wouldn't say it's on the side of the United States. I would say it's off the west coast of the United States. Listen closely to what people say. It hints at the truth of what something is. Okay, guys, up to you. Whoever wants to go next. If you got anything that's going to come off of what I just said.
No, I was thinking about this too before we even came on. It points to, I've seen a lot of maps going on around. I think we talked about this before on TikTok, where people are showing maps of, our Earth land, and then they're showing all these other lands on the outside of Earth. And there's a land that's actually called Mars on these maps. There's a land that's called Kong, like King Kong.
That's right.
It's called Kong.
That's right.
And it's like all these different lands on this map. And I'm like, man, and you know what it reminded me of? The old time maps, back in like the 30s, 40s, and where it was all kind of laid out, and different parts of the map and all those things. We know that we got to have an inclination that there is lands beyond Antarctica. And of course, I think that's one of the reasons why, of course, they won't allow anybody to go past a certain, land or a certain level. Admiral Byrd just so happened to be one of the first ones to be able to, the first one to be able to see these lands and kind of explore it. I think, and watching that video, her talking about the alien card being the last card, which I believe we're actually in now, because, look, the Pentagon has already said that there are aliens, there are identified flying objects and all these things. And when you do your research, you'll see that there are thousands and hundreds of thousands of cases where people have seen aliens or or whatever, some type of creatures that have never been seen before. So it seems like things are winding up to the point where I believe sooner or later they're going to have to, and we have an administration that doesn't mind doing that, I believe, but they got to play their cards right. They're playing 5D chess, so you got to understand it may, take
That's
some
right.
time. So don't try to rush it, people. But I think they're going to uncover the truth of the fact that there are other lands that the powers that be, the elites, these families have been hiding from us for decades. And so, yeah, I love you brought up that fact. And yes, I believe personally that there are other lands. And I think that's something that we all should talk about. And like I said earlier, I got this background because Antarctica used to look like this.
Well, it might still look like that in areas.
In a lot of parts, yeah, I believe so.
You never know. Yeah. Johnny.
It does in Kong.
Yeah. Yeah.
Speaking of maps, well, first of all, we've talked about this before on the many shows that we've done on this subject. I can't reiterate enough that Antarctica is an enigma. It is a linchpin and a jumping off point for many narratives around the world and over the centuries. And I have an image of a map and a newspaper clipping from a paper in Honolulu, Hawaii in 1907. So I'm going to share this here. I'll share the screen instead of the image so I can blow it up as we're talking.
Okay.
Okay.
I got it. It's up.
All right. So the headline for this particular article was "The world map. Was this world map made 10 centuries ago?" And this article is from 1907 in Honolulu, Hawaii. And as you can see, here's the known, like the UN map that they have hanging right here with the ice wall right here. And you can see all the different lands outside of that, many different lands. And let's see here. It came in a copper cylinder from a Buddhist temple in central Japan, and it was sent to a Dr. Kobayashi, a Japanese physician in Honolulu at the time. And I just find this interesting that you could still find these breadcrumbs of all these maps that they don't want you to see anymore in, pretty mainstream news at the time. This was the Hawaiian Gazette. That was Friday, January 11th, 1907. And nobody really said anything about it. Like nobody tried to dispute it. There wasn't like a big argument about it. I just find it interesting. To me, this is the most credible map of, I would say, the modern era. I've talked about all the strange stuff in 1700s and early 1800s, blah, blah, blah. And that's a whole different show.
Right.
But I just find it interesting that who knows how old the map was, because it came to this doctor from Japan in a copper cylinder. Who knows how long it was there, and then came to Hawaii in 1907. So I guess what I'm trying to say is believe your eyes sometimes. Don't let your inner dialogue try to tell you something different. It's good to question things. And there's so many maps that show Antarctica over the last couple thousand years that have surfaced. Yes. That's probably the most famous one. And without exception,
back up in a minute.
All of them show Antarctica as being a habited green land for all intents and purposes, with interesting wildlife, unicorns, whatever. They've got all kinds of stuff on all these maps. And Australians have I don't know if you'd call it a legend, but folklore, whatever it is, of people traveling to that area of Antarctica from Australia and encountering a species of monkey people. And it's pretty well documented, the monkey people of Antarctica. But it's just, to me, it's, and like Delora, it's been one of those things that's always been a subject of interest for me. And every time I think I've got a bead on something, or that I think I've got a handle on something, something else comes up and makes me change my opinion a little bit, or opens my mind to a bigger picture. And at some point in the show, I will talk about a concept that came up in pop culture in Germany before World War II. And I think it's really pertinent to what we're talking about, because the idea of, let's see, what's it called? Geocosmosis. We'll talk about geocosmosis in a bit, but
Okay.
but it was a very, very,
Interesting.
very big pop culture thing just before World War II. And coincidentally, right after this pop culture thing became a thing, Germany went on one of their first 3 expeditions. The first one was before World War II. It was like 38, 39-ish, somewhere in that time period. And so we'll talk about that shortly.
Okay. I got Admiral Byrd again, and I downloaded it. Why do I, in the reason I'm going to show it now, again, it's 1 minute long, and hopefully it'll play, is because people in the chat are saying, well, who's been there? How do you know? Watch what he says. This is the foundation. Okay. This man, Admiral Richard Byrd, has more commendations, more medals than any military person in history. That's the truth. You can look it up. This man this was in 1947, guys. Listen what he says about the land on the other side of Antarctica, and then I'll explain even further.
I must say that Admiral Byrd, our guest tonight, is not only our greatest living explorer, but he's been an inspiration to countless Americans. Admiral Byrd, you've been to both the North Pole and the South Pole. Is there any unexplored land left on this earth that might appeal to adventurous young Americans?
Yes, there is. And not up around the North Pole, because it's getting crowded up there now, because they find out it's really usable, not only to live in, but militarily. But strangely enough, there's left in the world today an area as big as the United States that's never been seen by a human being. And that's beyond the pole on the other side of the South Pole from Middle America. And I think it's quite astonishing that there should be an area as big as that unexplored.
This is a tremendous
So
challenge.
there's a lot of adventure left down at the bottom of the world.
Okay. So look, you can question the shape. You can question if there's lands beyond. You can question if there's aliens. You can question all. You can question it all. One thing you can't question is this man, one of the most decorated admirals in the history of this country, says on NBC, I have the whole interview. It's about 1 hour and 10 minutes. Can hardly find it anymore. Says there is land beyond Antarctica. What is that land? Who is on that land? You can't question if there is. Why isn't it? So if you've got a globe, why isn't that land on that globe? Now, if that land is not on that globe, what else aren't they telling us? Are there other lands? Is it really a globe? What is going on? So let me just add this. In the late 1800s, early 1900s, Captain Roald Amundsen, Amundsen. Yes, you can read about him online. Captain Roald was another explorer who visited the lands beyond. And he reached the gate he calls the Gate of the Great Icebergs. And believe it or not, you can look this up, not on Google, obviously, but on other ways you look it up. And you look up Byrd Strait. Byrd Strait is one of the areas that you can get through the ice wall. Now, I'm going to show you a map. This is from the late 1800s, I believe. I forgot the guy's name. Oh, it's one of the most famous maps. It is incredibly accurate as far as what topographers, I believe they're called, people who study maps and make maps, what they say. Now, again, if you look, there is no Antarctica. Where is Antarctica? What this map is saying, and a lot of people who say this, again, I've got no way of proving it other than what I've learned, what I've seen with my own eyes, what Admiral Byrd has said, is that Antarctica is not a landmass all the way on the South Pole, whatever that means, but it is actually around the entire lands of the Earth. And if you look right in the middle, that is the North Pole. And if you look at all ancient maps, you will see, and I mean from 1500 all the way through the 1800s, late 1800s, you'll see that little round thing in the middle is known as the North Pole. Now, let me take that down and let me just finish up what I'm saying. Oops, sorry. Okay. They had a difficult time getting through that strait. And in his memoirs, he says, he sighted the land of Aria and are nearing descent. We have not been detected yet. They apparently lost communication at base camp. They were attacked and 4 people were killed, including Captain Rowald. That then in the late 1990s, interesting, and I'm going to go to Johnny with this, a group of scientists spent months doing research when strange things started to happen. According to this documentary, this is all through the 90s now, a documentary from a filmmaker. Let me play this. It's only about a minute long, and then I'm going to go to you, Johnny.
As the days stretched into weeks and months, a series of inexplicable incidents unfolded around Brian. The initial occurrence involved the sudden and unexplained disappearance of researchers working on a project in the nearby mountains. Brian and his team were dispatched to investigate the incident, but their search revealed no trace of the missing researchers. The only anomaly they discovered was a peculiar silver object partially buried in the snow, its origin and purpose unknown.
Again. Okay. Again, it's amazing to me. What they're saying is that these scientists, now this is a fact. This isn't I'm not no make-believe here. They were, and then I'm going to, after Johnny speaks, I'm going to tie it to an interesting drop in the JFK files. But let's go to, they were, Johnny, why don't you finish what I'm talking about?
Well, that was actually the first expedition where something crazy happened. There was another one like in 2012 that happened, and then in 2016 when Buzz Aldrin went down. So there was like 3 different incidents where basically the same thing happened. And in that particular instance there, Brian, the name Brian that's used.
Yes.
They went into the mountains near where they were camped because that was their target for their investigation. And Brian described, and again, this is where, to Delora's point, you kind of have to use your own discernment,
judgment
on some of this. So, but I'm going to just repeat what was said. So I'm not making a determination for anybody. I'm just telling you what was said. So Brian stated that when they found a chamber. They went into this like area that had like smooth stone walls, it was a very tall, big, open chamber. And they saw what looked like mist coming out of the walls. Like it was like solidifying and then going into a mist form and going back into the wall. And then eventually they figured out that something was messing with their minds. Something was trying to control their minds. And then eventually this solidified into a being that, in his description, had the skin of an armadillo, had scales, like gave the impression of being like an armadillo, and then again disappeared into the wall, kind of thing. So, long story short, these guys basically had a psychotic break because something was messing with their minds, and they were scared for their lives. And when the team with the C-130 came to pick them up from this particular expedition, all the scientists were lined up like birds on a wire in front of their tents and their camper or whatever. And some people from the rescue team, from the C-130 flight team, had to go down and lead them onto the plane. Like they didn't know where they were at, kind of like they were in a deep, from what the doctor said, a deep state of what would be considered post-traumatic stress disorder. They were so out of touch, like they had no will left. Like, so they were literally led onto the plane. They didn't go get their equipment or their supplies, their personal belongings. They were just standing there, literally, like not saying a word. And Brian describes one of the people, scientists that he was sitting next to on the plane. He touched his leg, and the person didn't even look up, like no response, just didn't look up. That was like, so anyway, something crazy happened to make these people just go, wacko, like maybe not wacko, but just they became like a walking zombie.
Incoherent. They were totally incoherent.
And then Buzz Aldrin in 2016 went down just for a little, why not, for a little vacation down in Antarctica. And speaking of Werner von Braun and the old NASA Space Agency, which we can get into another show, but he saw something in that same area that apparently that shook him enough to make some crazy tweets. Apparently he made a tweet, something to the effect of like pure evil, we're all in trouble, something to that effect. And then he had a heart attack and they had to come and rescue him. They had to go and, and rescuing somebody in the middle of Antarctica is not like, you're just jumping in the car and going to the grocery store. That's a major undertaking, especially when it's not planned. So that's happened 2 or 3 times, that kind of incident. And what are they seeing? What's going on? What's making these people go insane and have heart attacks?
Now let me, Joe, before I get to you, let me just couple that with something. Joe Biden made a trip to Antarctica in the I think it was 93 or 94. He then made another trip. Obama sent him in 2009. You guys can find all this, okay? I'm not coming up with this stuff. But what I found very interesting, see, the people that have gone to Antarctica, the Pope, different German N people. I don't want to say because this is going to get posted on YouTube later. And
that's why I just say Germans.
Yes, Germans, yes. Okay. And John Kerry, different people like that really go there. And they are anti-America. They're not going there to help the United States of America. So Biden was there in 93, I believe, 94. Then he went back in 2009. Well, what comes out in the JFK files? I'm going to share my screen. Hang on a second, because I just This all just happened. Okay, so here is, this came out in 1994, September 1994. And it was FBI, United States of Justice, okay? And it's from the Washington Metropolitan Field Office, and an envelope postmarked Worcester, Mass, August 26, 1994, bearing the handwritten, hand-printed address, Senator Joseph Biden. This comes out with the rest of the files, really funny. U.S. Capitol Building. And then the bottom, it says, according to the handwritten, hand-printed letter dated 8/26/94, it begins, "Dear Senator Biden, you are a traitor," bearing the signature, John F. Kennedy Jr. So, Joe, let me go to you.
Wow. I figured some Antarctica.
Remind me to speak on that after you, Joe. Sorry.
Yeah, I figured some type of connection will come up in those papers, the JFK files that came out yesterday. You know what it is? This also ties to, because something had came out yesterday about Antarctica. There's a team from South Africa that's stuck out there, and on the headline it says, well, part of the actual news, it says the scientists at an isolated Antarctica base allegedly assaulted and sexually harassed colleagues after the team was confined together for more than a year, according to a shocking new report. All right, it says the researchers' deeply disturbing behavior was shared in an email by a fellow team member who was cooped up with him in the Sinai base, home to a South African research team. And they're saying that it's probably going to take a lot longer for them to, to come rescue them, to get them out, because of the weather that's taking place within that base. And so they're trying to
why?
figure out,
but why? 80 people.
It's the same thing. It's the same thing with with Biden and trying to get the people off out of the space station. But you have Elon Musk, who actually came to save the day, of course. So kudos to them. But why can't we? I mean, we got technology to be able to come save these people. What's going on in Antarctica at that base? It's like,
this is what I want to know. Then Johnny will go to you. But Joe, why there's 80 people there? Yeah. One man? Was it really? Who was it? Was it a human? Was it something other than a human that they couldn't control? Now they have to lock them up. There's 79 other men that can't control one human. Right. I'm sorry, Joe.
Yeah.
I mean, Johnny. Joe, either one.
No, I'm just gonna say this just came out yesterday. Go ahead, Johnny.
When you said that, locking somebody up, it just reminds me of the movie The Thing with Kurt Russell.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
I had that exact imagery in my head.
Well, that's what they were using on the news. They were saying like it's like a movie, like why people stuck in Antarctica, you got a crazy person, like
Well, and first of all, if you're researchers, if you're scientists, you think you'd have stuff to do. I mean, other than being sexual predators or whatever. But who knows? But going back, and this,
I know, right?
Delora feels my pain right now. But if you going back to the whole world leaders, blah, 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 and Antarctica specifically, I'm going to talk just briefly about Patriarch Kirill of Russia. He went to Antarctica. Let's see this. I don't know if I wrote the date down. It was around that whole time everybody was going. It was like a fashion thing. Everybody's going around 2016. It was around that same time.
Right.
So one thing to consider, while I'm talking, I'm going to pull up a picture of this dude so you guys can because I'm going to say something that the audience may or may not agree with. But again, it goes back to the whole
That's okay.
use your discernment. And
Okay, I got it. So,
all right. So I'm trying to keep my note here so I can read too. All right. Anyway, this guy here, that's Patriarch Kirill of Russia. So he met Pope Francis in Cuba less than a week before Patriarch Kirill went to Antarctica. And the media, in their words, described this meeting as urgent. And this, keep in mind, this is the first time a Pope and a Russian Patriarch have met in nearly 1,000 years. 1,000 years. Think of that. And then the dude goes to Antarctica. Hasn't happened since the year 1054, when the schism, or however you pronounce it, that separated Eastern Orthodoxy and Roman Catholicism. So 4 days later, Kirill goes to Antarctica. While he was there, he blessed and praised the lands in Antarctica as a model of an ideal humanity. Those were his words. So he praised it as a model of an ideal humanity. That's a weird thing to say, going to like one of the most theoretically barren places on the planet. The model, anyway. So and this is where I think I might lose some people, but I just think it's interesting with all the things tied to Antarctica, especially with the idea with Hollow Earth and with all the UFO talk and the German experiments they were doing with certain craft and that kind of stuff, and with Project High Jump, blah, blah, blah. If you look at Kirill's, he wears these all the time in various forms, but all these three symbols on his, whatever that's called, it's an image of a person. I don't know who it is. Maybe it's a saint. I don't know. Inside some kind of, it looks like a vehicle, because they always use to represent flying vehicles with wings. So they show all these little wings around it. And if you just casually look at it, it looks like a little rocket ship or a little whatever, like with like flames coming out the bottom or whatever. But it's on everything that he wears. Every time you see him, he has this person inside of this, what looks like a little capsule. So anyway, that's the leap. That's the leap for you guys today.
That's interesting.
Now, I'm going to stop sharing this so I can put my note back up. So that aside, keep that in the back of your head. Byrd himself, let me go to the quote. Byrd himself he stated that the 46-47 mission, Project High Jump as we know it, was not about searching for resources, because in that interview that Delora showed about the North Pole, he talked about the resources of the North Pole. And
that's right.
He also talked about the military's interest, blah, 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 but that it had a lot of resources. But he specifically stated that Antarctica, the Project High Jump mission, was not about searching for resources, but was to search for secret bases. German bases. So they wanted to find what Germany hid there. And during this Project High Jump, many people actually died mysteriously or went missing during this particular mission. So to tail into how this all kind of started, before World War II, where is it here? Germany led a team of 33 just before World War II to Antarctica. It was in December of 38 to February of 39. And this was their third expedition. So that was the final expedition before World War II. They had gone 2 other times before that to Antarctica. They were clearly looking for something. And I forgot to get it, but the logo for the third expedition, the one from 38 to 39, made it look like they were pointing at something. It was like a sphere looking thing. It had like the latitude, longitude lines. And at the bottom, it made it look like it was pointing to a specific spot in Antarctica, like between 2 certain parallels. And again, we can't talk about Antarctica without talking about the Hollow Earth, because they're inextricably linked together. And if you think about the hollow earth theory, just to put it in a nutshell, think of the earth as like an eyeball, where you have like the retina, the nerve on one end, the entrance to the eyeball itself on one end, and then the cornea on the other end. And if you think about like what they call the landmass of where Antarctica currently is, or what we're led to believe, think of that as the cornea of the eye. And in the center of that would be the pupil. So whether they're entrances at the top and the bottom of the eye, or portals, or whatever you want to call them, it's been something that's been talked about for thousands of years. Let's see. So they had 2 earlier expeditions, the Germans, to Antarctica with the intent of mapping it out. They used hot air balloons for aerial surveillance, and they wanted to walk across the continents. Top German officers and officials very much believed in the hollow earth as well as pop culture, which is what I stated earlier. German author Karl Neupert, Neupert, and I started looking into this guy. He had a massive cult following. In Germany. He published a pamphlet titled Mechanics of the Ether Against the Erroneous Teachings of Copernicus, and that was 1901. And then he had a book-sized document called Geocosmos, and that was in 1942. Now, the idea of the geocosmos, and this is where I think Germany was pushed into going to Antarctica because of this theory of geocosmos. The key to the geocosmos model lies in the idea of an internal universe with a rising and setting sun and the motions of other celestial bodies. The idea is that the Earth is shaped like an eyeball, with the entrance at top and bottom, blah, blah, blah. And we talked about this on another show, because they believed that they were descended from the master race that lives in the center of the world, which Admiral Byrd called the Ariani. The being that he talked to in his, if you believe in his diary or not, he talked to was the master, as he was called, but he was of a race called the Ariani. And to no short coincidence that what they considered the master race in Germany was the Aryan race. So you get Aryan from Ariani. And so it kind of puts into perspective their deep interest in Antarctica in the 30s.
Okay, now I'm going to ask both of you a question, because you're talking about hollow earth. There seems to be 2 groups. I tend to straddle both, which I do with a lot of things.
Yeah.
But because I don't know for sure. And I can argue for and against a million things. I can argue that the world is a globe. I can argue that the world is flat. I can argue that the world is shaped like an eyeball. I can argue that the world is a bowl. I can argue, and I can debate you on it, and I can give you facts on everything. I don't know. I don't know for sure. I have my hunches, but I don't know for sure. But there seems to be a group of people that don't prescribe to hollow earth as much as and you brought up the map, Johnny, at the beginning, of Earth's
extraterrestrial.
Beyond. Yes, and that's exactly what extraterrestrial means, other lands, additional lands. So when they say extraterrestrial beings, we look up and we should be looking out on land. But that the Earth is an enclosed plane or bowl or eyeball or whatever shape it is, or squash, globe, or whatever. And that the lands beyond that many people have written about, people have even said they've been there. Byrd says he's seen it. That is where people like, and I'm just going to say this, and I'm going to throw it out to the 2 of you, people like Gene Decode, who he's not around a lot anymore, but way back when, 7-8 years ago, he was around a lot. And
Mr. Dumbs. He was all about the dump.
Yes.
Going to the dump.
And not that I agree with a lot of what he says, and not that I even believe he's telling the truth a lot, but my discernment went off when he said something a few years back, and I'll never forget it. Someone was asking him, what do you think about, now they're saying they're going to go to Mars, and they're going to, and all these things are going to happen. And he started laughing, and you knew it was an off the cuff moment. And he said, I laughed so much at that because people have been living on Mars for hundreds of years. Now, there are people that say they visited Mars, and it is through the ice wall. There's 3 different areas apparently on the ice wall, through the ice wall. And on the other side of that, which is outside of the firmament and the whole enclosed Earth realm, that's where Mars is. Joe, Johnny, what do you say? Whoever wants to say.
Go ahead, Kong Realm.
No, that's a very, very interesting topic, because it actually points, especially when you talk about how, okay, if these planets are not outside of the firmament, then they have to be, spread abroad these other lands. The Bible says something, and when God responded to Job, one of the things he said was this. He says, let's see. Oh, this is in Job 37, verse 18. All right. And he says this: can you, like him, spread out the skies hard as a cast metal mirror? All right. Or a hard frozen mirror. Like the Bible talks about this firmament, and how, because when you look up through a telescope, you try to look at the stars or what they call planets or whatever. Even through the telescope, it all looks blurry. Nobody tells you that, about a firmament, so
like you're looking through water.
Like you're looking through water, yeah, or some type of frozen wall. Because when you shine light through something that's frozen, it's blurry,
Yeah.
And so it's like when you talk about these planets, it seems like, and this is why, Elon Musk, he's always talking about going to Mars. And then when you hear Elon Musk say it, oh yeah, we're going to go to Mars, and we're going to get there in a matter of time, and it's not going to be, but on the other side, NASA is saying it would take years and stuff, years plus months to get to Mars, and then you look at the moon, like, why are they saying it's taking this amount of time to get to the moon, but yet the moon looks like it's so close,
It is.
So you would have to think about that.
Because it is.
It's way closer than you think it is.
It's way closer to you, but the average person wouldn't think that. But you have to think like, okay, what if the moon is closer than what they're saying? What if Mars really is just another land outside of the firmament? And people don't think that way. So
I literally just did a whole show on the moon last week.
What was that?
I literally just did a whole show on the moon last week.
Yeah.
Interesting. Johnny, where can they find that? Where can they find that?
I'll send you the link to the video.
It's on your Rumble. What's the name of your Rumble channel?
Cars, Guitars, and Mars.
Okay. I love it.
Oh,
so
man,
go watch that. Joe, go ahead. Go ahead.
But yeah, it's like you got to think about those things. And I'm sure Elon Musk is SpaceX is really going to expose a lot of those things. But that's how you have to think. And the firmament is connected to all this. I think the firmament is connected to all this. So you really got to wonder, okay, what's going on really in our skies as well as what's going on in Antarctica. So, yeah.
Yeah. Here, let me just, and I think this is where we're going to go next time. And I'm going to say it again, because I'm sick of being misjudged by this. I get emails about this. I get comments about this. I do not know the shape of the earth. One more time. Let me say it loud. I don't know. The reason I say you must consider everything is because NASA is corrupt. I don't know what else to say.
And look, and can we listen to the Bible? Because the Bible like really talks about us. Like, what about Revelation 7? The angels at the four corners, the angels at the four corners of the earth. Like, all right.
Yeah, thank you. But let me, it's the elephant in the room. We don't like to go there because people, this is the one area that people freak out. Do you guys, Joe and Johnny, you realize I have said the earth could be flat. The earth could be a triangle. I don't know what the earth is. Could be a square. Okay, 4 corners. I don't know. People freak out.
And they freak out that your mind is open to any of those.
Right.
Exactly.
Well, you said it was flat. No, I didn't.
Right.
I said I know it's not round. So why do I know it's not round? Now we're going to go into this just a little bit. This is where we're going to take off next time. I brought with me my trusty tomato. Okay. Now let me just say this. I don't know why this isn't true, but maybe one of you can answer because we're near the end of the show, and I've got a question. Here's my question to Globers. I don't care if you're a Glober. I don't care. Do you guys understand? Let me say it again. If you believe the earth is round, God bless you, my friend. If you believe it's flat, God bless you too. We will find out one day, but I can't help but questioning, and this is why. And then Johnny will go to you. Let's pretend this is the globe earth. It's probably a little bit bigger. It's a little squishy, this one. But this is, so you know, according to NASA, the earth rotates counterclockwise at 1,000 miles an hour. Now, why I'm not hanging on like this, I don't know. But it rotates 1,000 miles an hour. So here it is. I'm over here in Florida, okay? And you're over here in San Diego. I'm in Florida. You're in San Diego, okay? Now, the earth is going counterclockwise, all right? Not clockwise, counterclockwise, according to NASA. So that means if I got in a helicopter
at 1,000 miles an hour.
1,000 miles an hour. That's what I said. 1,000 miles an hour. Yep. If I got in a helicopter and hovered over Florida in 3 hours, I wouldn't have to move any place. I would now be over San Diego. Why doesn't that happen? That's all. You go from New York to California in 6 hours. You go from California to New York. Sometimes it's 5.5, depending on the wind current. Why doesn't it get shorter? I need to know that. If a globe person can answer that for me, you're going to win me. Now, I got about 50 more of these, but that's the reason I question. Johnny.
Well, not only that, the trip back would take a lot longer because you're having to go the 1,000 miles an hour that the earth is spinning and go faster than that to be able to get to your destination if you're going the other direction. So you'd have to go like 1,600 miles an hour, which we know commercial jets don't do. They cruise at about 500 to 600 miles an hour.
That's right.
So you'd have to go 1,600 miles an hour just to go back from California to New York to get there. To get there, first of all, because if you went even 1,000 miles an hour, you'd just be following the earth. Like you wouldn't be going any farther.
You'd be going nowhere.
Right, exactly. Right. And plus with that kind of rotation and whatever, the earth is still with gravity able to keep all the water on the planet and everything else as it's spinning at 1,000 miles an hour. The water's not escaping out into the
right. Okay. Or what
but a bee can fly around and whatever.
Right.
And
that's what I was gonna say. A flea can go against gravity, but the gravity's holding the water. And now that I'm in Florida, I should be sideways.
Can I read
on
Can I
that
read a
Bible.
scripture? Can I read a scripture
Go.
real quick?
Go.
Psalms 104, verse 5. He set the earth on its foundations; it can never be moved.
But we don't believe that in the Bible. We don't believe that. Everything else.
Going
All
back
right.
to your Mars
ahead.
thing, I just
Go
want
ahead.
to touch on that real quick.
Yeah, we're going to close up too. So here, last Joe. Go
Okay.
ahead.
So if anybody has, for the last however long, has been doing any kind of digging, you'll come across videos of people talking about the secret space program. And there's several prominent figures in that whole, I won't get into everybody, but there's a couple of people that have all these whistleblowers or ex-military that supposedly were in the secret space program stationed on Mars. Like that, with their whole tour of duty for 20 years, 30 years, whatever, was always on Mars. And this is going to Delora's point of two camps. So you have the camp where you believe that Mars is out there somewhere, like out in space, out another planet away from the Earth. And then you've got, and this is where this is where you have to question narratives. And I don't believe the military industrial complex narrative, whether you're a whistleblower or not. I don't believe anything. I shouldn't say anything. Most things that these people, whistleblowers come
Amen.
at the most opportune times to help steer a narrative or steer people away from something. And so
You mean like the CIA just got locked down because there's a shooting there? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Exactly.
yeah. And whereas the CIA was just implicated in JFK's death, like orchestrating that whole thing.
Right.
So, oh, squirrel, look. Okay. Anyway. So, and then you have other people that have a little more meat on the bone, a little more believability, like these explorers and other people in a little more of the distant past talk about the lands beyond and the extraterrestrial lands. And to Joe's point and to Delora's, Mars is one of those lands, and people actually, if you believe the accounts, people live and breathe and have their lives there. Like they have their entire societies on all these different areas, Mars being one of them. So you could make a case for people have lived on Mars forever or for thousands of years. But anyway, when you watch YouTube videos and you get all these things in your feeds, which I do, you get like videos from Dr. Michael Salla and all these other people, with all these whistleblowers. They have these masks on, or they have these helmets on so you can't see their faces, talking about the secret space program and whatever. My spidey sense tingles a little more when I see those kind of videos than I do reading the other stuff.
Yeah, I agree. Joe, final word.
Yeah, I mean, like we said earlier, we just have to think. People have to think and kind of use common sense. Comparing what mainstream media, what the powers that be are telling you, and the truth, the facts. Like always go to the scriptures. I mean, the scriptures, they tell you. It's like they tell you how the earth was laid and all these things, and and so we have to really have an open mind first and foremost. You got to consider what the Lord is showing you. You got to at least consider what the Lord is showing you, and do your research and be open, into putting two and two together. Just like you have to rightly divide the word of truth in the scriptures, right. You got to rightly divide the word of truth that the Lord is telling you. Like, okay, look here, put this with that, and let's connect it and be open. Don't be so closed-minded. So that's my final words for this. Because we're going to get deeper. Awesome. We're going to have more shows like this where we're going to get deeper. You got to be open.
Yeah. Just be open. Look at it. The thing is that people, and I was one of them. I used to lay on my back, guys, and look up at the stars when I was a child. And it was the most fascinating. When I started questioning this, the cognitive dissonance I was feeling was palpable. I was like shaking because I wanted to believe everything they're telling me so badly. The thing is you know, if you can't really, if you look up at the stars, here I am decades later from when I was a little girl, and I look up and it's the same stars in the same place, never leaving, never moving, never, you know, where, you know, and the universes are supposed to be expanding at so much time. It's just, it doesn't make sense that the oceans can be held to the bottom of a globe with such weight of gravity, holding billions and trillions of tons of water, but a flea can fly in the air like nothing. There's something that doesn't make sense. I don't know what it is, but I'm enough of a curious person to realize that NASA is not who they think they are. And let me just end quickly with this. The Greek poet Homer, which is known for his writings in the Iliad and Odyssey, in the Odyssey, it says they traveled through an opening where that was narrowing as they passed through it. One side was a cliff-dwelling being, and the other side, a deadly whirlpool, okay? It rings true about Antarctica and the ice walls and everything when you read that. It's fascinating reading if you read it. But here's the curious thing. Right before I got on here, and I had that in my notes, Ivanka Trump posted that exact thing on X. I thought that was very interesting and very curious. So I'm going to end it at that. Next month, we will be back. We'll go beyond the ice walls next month. And that's really, I think I'm putting it off because I don't want 1,000 emails. And it's so much work for me. And people put things in my mouth and they say I said things, and it's just very hard, very hard. But I answer everyone and I try to explain. So it takes me hours upon hours upon hours. But maybe I'll get them about the tomato now. Go ahead, Johnny. You got something to say?
Oh, no. For those that question kind of what you're talking about there too, is just look up on YouTube, look up setting sun horizon and Nikon P1000. Even if you look up on TikTok or wherever, Nikon P1000, that seems to be the camera of the decade, because I brought it up.
You can't get it anymore.
I know. I brought it up on my moon show because for a consumer grade camera, it's a very powerful camera. And anyway, just you'll see some interesting videos is all I got to say.
Yeah. Very interesting.
And that's frustrating, like you said, Delora, because that's what got me. Like when I was younger and I got a telescope, and it's like it's showing images of like Mars and Venus and all this other stuff on the box, but it's like when I try to look at it through the telescope, it's like all I see is blurred water. Like
that's right.
It's light. Like, why can't I see these planets? Like
it's like water. It's like blur. Yeah. Absolutely. You're waiting to see these incredible things. It's just
it's like they lied to me. They got these images on the box, but I can't see it through the telescope. What's going on?
Or just like the planet Venus in front of the moon during the eclipse.
Right. Oh, God. Amazing. All right, guys. Real quick, National Gathering. Go to thegatheringmovement.org. Get your tickets. They're free. Tonight, I am on Louis Herm's Rumble channel, Screw Big Gub on Rumble, 7 p.m. Eastern. I love that name. It's a Q&A tonight for him, so it should be interesting. Also, this is the Open Tomb. He is risen toggle necklace. It's got a cross, the crystal, real Austrian crystal representing the tomb, and it says he is risen. Great thing for Easter and all the coming up. And then the earrings, here they are. I took one off so you could see it. There it is. It says he is risen on it. I don't know if you can see that, but it says he is risen. All of this stuff is stainless steel, won't tarnish or anything. And then last but not least is our new item. This is a new tote. This size also has it smaller. It is Psalm 91, covered under his wings. Awesome, awesome. This is, of course, Jenna comes up with this stuff. She's amazing. If you first time you're ordering from joyandcountry.com, use the code WELCOME10 because you will get 10% off. And always free shipping, guys. Always, always free shipping. You can order those big 3-pound like tumblers and it's still free shipping. And I always say you can use those as a weapon as well. Anyway, okay, guys. This has been great. I always enjoy doing these for you. We'll do another one the middle of next month. I will take my chances on what I have to deal with after. We'll go a little bit deeper. And
we got you back.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Joe. All right, guys. Love you all. Thank you for joining. And thank you on X for joining. I love the time, 1:11. Perfect time to leave. God bless you all. And remember, go in the power of God always. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.